I mean, nice one.
A lot of pressure on Ayers to get some Cavern of Souls on Giant.
Yup.
Slog through some counter magic. A Logic Knot, a couple Mana Leaks, 3 Cryptic Command. Good spread of counters in the Azorius control deck for Robert Seder.
Oh, for sure. On top of that, 3 copies of Mystic Sanctuary, the new land that you can fetch up that we've seen so much in these Urza decks, but now just in a pure control deck seems pretty great.
Ayers on the play, going to start things off with a Once Upon a Time. Hearing that Daryl did start on 6 cards this game. Seder keeping the full 7.
Now, Once Upon a Time is a newer card for the Amulet Titan decks, and it took a few weeks for them to really adopt it. And I think there was a while where there was even like not consensus on whether or not it was good in the deck. But now I believe almost all players play 4. It makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of creatures and lands, and that's what it gets.
Mm-hmm. And it's really the modern deck that is most capable of spending the 2 mana on the second copy.
Yeah, that was the one thing I learned playing a lot of Pioneer, is that being able to hard cast the Once Upon a Time easily was really important for your development, because you'd play a lot of games of Magic where you draw the second one. And if you can't cast it, or it is too slow to be cast, that's where you're really in trouble.
Ayers getting set up here as Forest and Snow-Covered Forest with Sakura Tribe Scout. Seder used an opt on the first turn, shocked a Hallowed Fountain to do so to 18. Kept the card with the opt. Possible a little awkward configuration with the mana base here. You see Mystic Sanctuary towards the front and Field of Ruin. And in fact, Sanctuary tapped will be the second land. Ayers is going to sneak in a Castle Garenbrig off the Scout. Then on his turn, Amulet of Vigor and actually an attack from the Tribe Scout, pardon me.
That's no good.
It's going to put Seder to 17, and then Cavern of Souls will be the land. That's going to name Giant as we go back Seder's way.
Yeah, it makes sense. There are 4 copies of Field of Ruin in Seder's deck, so he's going to need one of those pretty quick to take care of the Cavern so his counter spells can actually do something.
And Field of Ruin is indeed the card at the front of the hand. Probably part of the reason that that Sanctuary came down on turn 2.
Right. I think they were just really trying to figure out what to do here, because the attack from Daryl last turn signifies to me that he either has a bounce lane in hand, so it doesn't matter that he attacks with his Tribe Scout or activates, or he just has nothing. And I think Seder is just conferring with teammate, do you think I should go ahead and blow stuff up? What should I target? Should I target Castle Garenbrig? Should I target the Cavern of Souls? And here he goes with Castle Garenbrig to constrict the mana a bit. And that is 3 of 4 basics gone now, too. So, you know, future Path to Exile, future Field of Ruins may not be able to search up lands for Daryl.
Daryl's going to go find basic forest. Seder's going to pick up island. I think the equation largely must be, this is a tell that Seder does not have a counterspell at the ready, right? He went for the mana, not for the uncounterability.
Right. No, that is my inclination, but also if he leaves the Garenbrig alone and goes for Field of Ruin on the Cavern of Souls, there's a good chance that a Titan just comes down next turn, no matter what. And here at the very least, he slows down the Primeval Titan, so maybe he's able to find another Field of Ruin, take care of the Cavern, and then hold up a counterspell later on.
Here's an Azusa for Daryl and another attack with the Scout. Seder to 16. We'll see how he gets set up from here. Full grip.
I see the Detention Sphere sitting in his hand right now. He may want to use that to either contain something like the Azusa or maybe the Amulet of Vigor, since the Amulet does provide some burst mana from those bounce lands.
Yeah, depending on the content of the rest of the hand, how many land drops he's going to make, you do kind of want to be able to leave up interaction on top of the sphere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, how concerned is he about any of this stuff? You know, Daryl hasn't made a land drop for a turn, even with extras available. Seder's going to sit tight, though, play a Field of Ruin and pass.
It's actually pretty smart, because if a bounce lane does come down, with a trigger on the stack, he can actually use the Field of Ruin to pop it, and that'll keep a Titan from being able to come down very easily. But it also allows him to, end of turn, just go ahead and pop the Cavern of Souls if nothing threatening is played.
And Ayers just playing one of the fairest games I've ever seen from Amulet, an attack for 2.
Well, you say fair, I say dumpster hand.
Fair is a synonym for bad. I don't know if you knew that about Magic.
I did not.
In Modern specifically.
Okay.
We see Snapcaster Mage flashed in. Going to target Opt and block Azusa.
I like this play. He also has 2 mana up, so he can play one of his counter spells like Doan Zito, Mana Leak.
We see Opt flashed back.
And Snapcaster Mage is one of those types of cards where the card keeps the ability of flashback till the end of turn, so he gets to hold up the shield of 2 mana counterspell, and then if nothing of consequence is done, he can end of turn cast the Opt while trading for the Azusa.
So 1 point connected, Cedar to 15. We go back his way. It's like Winds of Abandon in the holding there. That's a one of in the main deck. The Overload Path to Exile from Modern Horizons.
I call it Paths to Exile. I don't know what I call it. I don't know why I said that. That's not true.
Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is going to put that amulet third from the top. Interesting, putting the Teferi down to 1 in the face of a Tribe Scout. Daryl's going to go ahead and attack that down.
No, I thought the same thing, but maybe he just has so many resources at his disposal that he really only cares about whether or not the Primeval Titan comes down next turn, you know. Maybe he has a backup Teferi in hand.
Yeah, we will see how that plays out and see if Ayers can ever actually commit something of substance to the battlefield. Here's a Field of the Dead. It's land number 5, but unique land number 4. A little ways off of making that matter.
Yeah, and the Field of Ruin in play is only going to get another snow-covered forest, so once it takes care of it, it's not going to do much.
And there goes the Field of Ruin.
5 lands now for Daryl, though, so if he does have a Titan, all he needs is 1 land off the top. An untapped land, to be sure.
Cavern of Souls still online, so any Titan will have to be dealt with on the battlefield.
Looks like we have a result from one of our other matches here. Liam Carlton takes game 1 against Russell Lee's Mono Black Aggro with that Bant Spirits, as I predicted. I'm rooting for Russell. I like Russell a lot. But you got to go where the money's at. And my money this week was on Bant Spirits.
Here's Teferi Time Raveler. That's going to bounce the Tribe Scout. Cedar draws a card. Plays an island. Go back to Ayers. Tribe Scout redeployed. We know there's an amulet on top of the deck now. And Simic Growth Chamber is going to pick up the Cavern of Souls.
Yeah, and that's mostly just to protect it from a third Field of Ruin. That's actually a great play by Daryl, if you ask me. Next turn, he can just play it again, reset it to Giant again, and then play the Cavern or play the Primeval Titan if he has access to it.
For Cedar, Teferi goes to 2. Another Field of Ruin. It's going to show up and take care of the bounce land.
Yep, it's a must shuffle so that Amulet of Vigor does go away. But there are no more basics for Ayers to find, so that Field of Ruin effectively a strip mine, or it's even better than a strip mine. Well, better-ish. Costs mana, but you get the land and your opponent doesn't. It's pretty darn good.
It's a wasteland.
Okay,
Plus.
but it costs 2, though, and you get a land back, so it's not.
It's a wasteland rampant growth.
Wasted growth.
It's a frenzied tilling.
Okay. No, I buy that. I buy that.
It's cheaper, too.
It is.
Don't even have to play Gruul.
You could say that there is not a Magic card that does the thing that just happened.
Could do that.
Yeah.
But we're Magic players.
Or you could call it a cheap frenzied tilling.
Yeah.
All right, Cavern of Souls on Giant. Here comes from Evil Titan, though. This is a heater. Daryl looks like he's been behind all game, and right now finally resolved his marquee creature of Primeval Titan. Let's see what he can do. 1 Field of Ruin already down. Only 3 unique lands, so even if he gets Field of Dead another land, it does not do a whole lot. Maybe goes and gets Valakut and another land. Unclear.
There is only 1 Field of the Dead in the main deck.
Yeah, now with Valakut, you don't really need a bunch of that backup win condition. Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, combined with Dryad of the Elysian Grove is quite powerful here. And you see him going to get 2 copies of Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. So now if he ever draws Dryad of the Elysian Grove and a bounce land maybe combined, just starts doing 6, 12 points of damage a turn.
And 2 Valakuts is the find. Seder does have an answer to a Titan on the table, though, and it can't attack just yet. That Winds of Abandon can be flashed in.
Yep, since it's Teferi did plus last turn, right? So
Seder's going to wait, though, go to his turn.
he's going to overload.
Hey, maybe, there's no lands.
Right.
Depends if he can afford to spend 6 mana. Also needs 1 more white source.
Sure. Does have Force Negation in hand, so that's nice for him. A Summoner's Pact is checked pretty easily here because of that. But if an Elysian Grove is naturally drawn or the Primeval Titan is naturally drawn, could be problematic. Although Valakut's not that useful at all without the Dryad of Elysian Grove. This isn't a traditional Valakut strategy.
Yeah, just a bunch of non-mountains there. Seder's going to pick up a Supreme Verdict off of Narset Porter of Veils, going down to 1. Teferi goes to 3. Verdict can now just be cast at instant speed, so no rush on that. See if Ayers can find a way to squeeze a Dryad onto the battlefield.
It's going to be pretty tough, but it depends. Like if Seder just doesn't have access to a hard counter spell, if he just has the Force of Negation, then Dryad here, it could be really problematic.
Supreme Verdict cast before Ayers can attack with the Titan, avoiding that land trigger. Ayers has not had much to do all game, so we'll see if there's any follow-up.
Yeah, the mulligan hurt pretty bad. I believe the one-spawn time was not good either. His land just didn't really develop early, and that combine that with 3 copies of Field of Ruin, and you can understand why he's had a bit of trouble, but still chugging along here. That Cavern of Souls never got busted up, so this Primeval Titan has not been countered. The one previously has not been countered. Let's see what he can find here. My guess, Tolaria West Simic Growth Chamber?
We'll see. Backup Titan's good, though. He gets his choice.
Backup Titan, or just maybe start tutoring for Elysian Grove.
See Tolaria West and Vesuva. Get confirmation on what the copy is.
Oh, I bet he's copying Cavern. I bet he's naming Dryad.
Seems reasonable. You want to fade a Cryptic. Vesuva copied Valakut, I am hearing.
He's got a Dryad in hand already.
It's a lot of Valakuts.
He's just going to go for 1 fiery turn. 9 damage per. Only needs to get 2 lands onto the battlefield once he has the Dryad in play. Or a single fetch land will do it too. But he has to find the Dryad, and it has to resolve.
Back over to Seder. Time Raveler goes to 4. And Detention Sphere is going to take care of that second Titan. Scalding Tarn's land and a pass. Back over to Daryl Ayers. 3 Valakuts. Can he make them count?
It feels like Seder is in firm control, but is just like living on the razor's edge right now. Like something bad could happen. He could tap out at the wrong time, and maybe Daryl just kills him. 3 copies of Valakut in play. Combine that with 1 Dryad of Elysian Grove. Just an outrageous amount of damage. But just has to pass the turn here.
And we saw that camera angle go wide there. Daryl did not look too satisfied with his position. Seder's going to put the Teferi to 5, play a Flooded Strand, back over to Ayers. I think 4 or 5 cards in hand. Nowhere to go just yet. Here's a Summoner's Pact. Does that resolve? Looking like a negatory.
Yeah.
Force of negation.
I have to imagine that when you can force a negation, a Summoner's Pact, you just do.
Here's a second one.
All right, let's see if Seder has a second answer, but let's this one go. Let's see if Daryl goes and gets maybe a 3rd Primeval Titan, or if he just goes for the kill this turn with a Dryad. Depending on what land he has to play for the turn.
See Daryl thinking about it now that the Summoner's Pact has resolved.
Right, I think he assumed both of them were getting countered. So now he's actually having to think about it and make a real decision. Seder's drawn so many extra cards, just has a grip full, still like 5 or 6 cards in hand.
Right. There was no action on the Summoner's Pact, but that does not mean that there would be no action on, say, a Dryad of Elysian Grove.
Right.
So Ayers are going to think it out. He's thinking about Dryad, though. That's a card that has been selected.
The trick here, though, is that the Dryad can be killed with the triggers on the stack. So Daryl's going to need something like a fetch land to guarantee a 9-point chunk. Or, I guess, Seder could just Path and Winds of Abandon in response. So
Second Cavern of Souls. That's going to be on Nymph. And Dryad of Elysian Grove
how's
resolves.
it not a Dryad?
Because it's a Nymph.
But Dryad's a creature type. It's called Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Dryad's a creature type.
I understand.
What?
And there's an instant speed Winds of Abandon. So this is a response to Gruul Turf that would make these Valakuts go off.
Yep, no more lands to search up. I'm mad at it.
I understand.
Okay,
I
I'll let it go. I'll let
I
it
could
go.
tell.
All right, let's go.
There was a lot of shouting. The fact that you're mad was observed.
Thanks. All right, so he's going to use the Gruul Turf to bounce the Teferi West, and he's going to transmute it. Likely going to go get another Dryad here. Cast it again. Or is he? Oh, he's on empty. Never mind.
It's
Okay.
going to be an Explosives.
I think he had a blue floating, maybe? I don't know. Let's see how many counters this has.
Two of them. Three of them.
Okay.
That's better. And this isn't just those Planeswalkers. This is
No.
Detention Sphere on Primeval Titan. It's
Yeah.
hiding at the top of your screen.
Yeah.
But this is bad news for Robert Seder.
It is. I believe he has a Path to Exile to take care of the Primeval Titan. But losing both Planeswalkers and having to deal with the 6/6 still is a huge swing for, you know, 1 injure explosives on X equals 3, you know?
I see Ayers passes with that Explosives up.
Interesting he would wait to pop it instead of getting the Teferi before it can minus.
Yeah, the Teferi minus mostly represents a card, I think, is the whole thing.
Yep.
Ayers probably just figures one card, not really too meaningful in the grand scheme of things.
Sure.
Dodging a sorcery speed answer to the Titan. I guess the Teferi plussing is actually more of a concern than the minus, right?
Right. The plus actually allows him to still cast Supreme Verdict even after the Primeval Titan goes.
So there's the -3 on the Raveler. Seder draws a card. No targets. Yeah, about 6-ish cards in Seder's hand, surveying his options.
So I don't really have anything to comment on here, so I'm just sitting, just chilling.
How you feel about Tapped Hollow Fountain? Does that get you going?
Not at all.
All right, here goes the Intercept Engineer Explosives. That one's exciting. Fortanely even things up on the back tables with the Game 1 win over Cunningham.
Looks like we're using Cryptic Command to protect the Narset from the explosives. That's going to return the Primeval Titan to the battlefield, and Daryl's going to search up a couple lands. That has to mean to me that Seder has an answer to the Primeval Titan at instant speed. Has to be Path Exile, probably, looking at the list. Because he did minus the Teferi instead of plussing.
Right.
If he plussed, even if the Planeswalker dies, you still get that effect for an entire turn cycle.
And like any Azorius control deck, it is a 4 Path to Exile strategy.
You ever tried to Path Exile Devoted Druid? That sucks.
That does not sound ideal. Titan gets Path, but not any basic lands to go still.
All right, Daryl pays for Summoner's Pact.
Smart.
Tapping 3.
Reach for some Cavern of Souls first.
Well, if this is probably a Dryad, yeah.
Gruul
9,
Turf, take 9. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. You take 9. I'm going to return a land to my hand. Any response? I'm going to 9 you again.
Take 9 more.
And that's
That's it? That's it.
Daryl Ayers, Masterclass Amulet Titan, Game 1 victor here with what looked like a virtually unwinnable game.
And that's going to be 2 games to the good for Ayers' team here as players reach for their sideboards. For Daryl Ayers, he has 3 Mystical Dispute, 2 Force of Vigor, 3 Beast Within, 2 Ether Gust, 2 Dismember, a Reclamation Sage, another Engineered Explosives, and a second Field of the Dead.
So you're going to have to settle in for a long game here, I think. Mystical Dispute seems like right up his alley for stopping those Planeswalkers pretty early on. He can also use that as a protection spell for resolving one of his things if he doesn't find an early Cavern of Souls. Force of Vigor has some targets, but I don't think it has enough to warrant bringing in, though they do have access to each other's deck lists, so Daryl could decide that, hey, there's enough, I'm going to bring it in, but my guess is not. Beast Within, I think, is perfect for this kind of matchup. They don't really pressure you that well, so giving them a 3/3 is not exactly relevant. And being able to blow up a problematic Planeswalker, a random artifact enchantment that's slowing you down is definitely solid. Don't think I want Gust or Dismember. The one on Reclamation Sage has some value, but like Force of Vigor, it's just going to be completely up to Daryl whether or not he thinks that having access to something like that is worth it. The second Engineered Explosives I don't think comes in, but I do like the one-up tutor target in the main. And then, of course, I do think the second Field of the Dead comes in. Against any opponent who's trying to hit you with Field of Ruin, I do think that Field of the Dead is quite strong there. Just having redundant extra copies.
Makes sense to me. For Robert Seder, who needs some help, 2 Ether Gust, 2 Celestial Purge, 2 Ashiok Dream Render, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Monastery Mentor, 2 Timely Reinforcements, a Surgical Extraction, a Stony Silence, and a Gideon of the Trials.
So this is one of the matchups for Ether Gust. It definitely comes here in here. It's able to stop a Primeval Titan that has been cast via Cavern of Souls because it doesn't technically counter. It just puts the spell back on top of the deck. Celestial Purge doesn't come in. It's not a black or red deck. Ashiok Dream Render, perfect for this matchup since Daryl is searching his deck with quite a bit of stuff from Primeval Titan all the way down to Summoner's Pact and Tolaria West. No Rest in Peace, no Mentor. Mentor is like a 50-50. I think if he wants to be a beatdown on the play, he certainly can do that. I don't know if that's a plan he wants to go for. I think Monster Mentor is usually relegated for like hard combo matchups like Storm, where you just need to get them dead before they find the combo. And if Game 2 is anything like Game 1, that might be something that he desires.
Sure.
The Surgical Extraction is kind of a one-of thing that you can bring in if you want to try to steal a game by popping one of their lands and then hitting all of them out of the deck. But that kind of thing is usually a Hail Mary, and I try not to put myself in those situations if possible. And then Stony Silence and Gideon of the Trials, I would not bother with either of those.
So for Modern fans, we do have a nice tournament coming up for you all. Actually, tournaments all across the United States. It's going to be our regional championships, Saturday, March 7th. You can find information at go.starsgames.com/regionals, but let's give you that information right now. These are our locations all across the country. Many locations there, and what you are playing for. It is a nice tournament. The winner walks away with $1,200 cash and 20 SCG points. Top 8's looking at invites to the Season 1 Invitational at SCGCon Summer. Plenty of cash prizes and points going out there.
Yeah, these are all the locations that you can find. Personally, I have been to a couple of these. My favorite, I think, is Atomic Empire, Durham, North Carolina. That place is quite good. If you're in that area, highly recommend the venue, and it's a great tournament. As a former regional champion myself, I can say there's a lot of luck in that building. I should know. And if you do participate and do well, get a free exclusive matching playmat and token to the first 200 players at each location. Get the sweet playmat featuring a Hydra wrecking up the place.
You'll want to pre-register to get your hands on that. Also, just to help your local tournament organizers run their regional tournament as smoothly as possible.
Oh, for sure.
Do your part as a player, and you can get all the information at go.starcitygames.com/regionals. I am likely to play the Minneapolis regionals.
Yeah, I don't think there's a regionals in wherever California I live, whose name I forget all the time.
The city that you live in?
Yeah. Oh, no. I don't want to say it on air, because then people might Google it, and then might find me. I'm just going to say I live in Los Angeles.
My understanding is that California is a very populous state, and knowing what city you live in is not very helpful.
It is if it's a very small little thing.
I got you to give away more information.
Yeah. Damn it.
He's not clutching that very closely.
No. Look, as someone who's like a F-list celebrity, okay, I don't need that kind of attention. I don't need people at my house with cameras.
I find it unlikely that you will get that. I think the only thing that might attract that is your publicly stated aversion to it.
Right.
You're fueling
I
the
love
fire.
it. I love it. I'm actually just if you stay tuned, 10 minutes past the end of the broadcast, we're going to come back live
This is
for 10 seconds, and I'm going to tell you my address.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just building up to you just spewing your address on camera.
Yeah. What was that weird thing in the 80s where the...
All of it.
Okay.
The entire decade.
No, there was like a Max Headroom, I think it was called.
I have no idea what that is.
It was like someone hijacked the TV channel, like all the TV channels for like a minute or two and just played like this weird... Like you would think it was like a Tool music video or whatever, and it's very strange.
You might be thinking of the movie Airheads.
No, but that movie rules.
It's a nice movie.
Yeah. Wait, isn't one of the members of the? So I know it's Brendan Fraser's like the main one.
That's the only one I remember.
But I'm pretty sure Steve Buscemi is one of the other members of the band. So like, that movie is so old because he was like, you know, in a rock and roll band.
Right. Steve Buscemi was convincingly a young person.
Oh, Adam Sandler was the other one? I've been told.
That's what Rob is
Holy
saying.
jeez.
I just wanted to make a pop culture reference, but like that's really dated. That's one of my favorite. I did improv in college.
Well, would that actually be pop culture?
I'd call it. What else is it? Is it unpop culture?
Popped culture.
Popped culture. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it should be like pop, like your pop, like your dad's culture.
Pops culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pops culture.
It's for me, ma.
I always worry about talking about old movies because they all age horribly. You rewatch them and you're like, oh God, I hope I didn't tell anybody I liked this.
You know what movie did not age poorly?
Happy Gilmore. That's the only one.
No, you're right. It
Yeah.
did. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, the movie is incredible.
It's on Comedy Central like every other day.
Nice.
And I watch whenever it's on when I'm in the hotel room. It just stays on.
In fact, I get a little angry when somebody says they like Billy Madison because of how much worse it is than Happy Gilmore.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of.
Oh, you're wrong.
I know. See, me and Ross have had multiple conversations about this. He's, again, standing very close to the desk, giving me the thumbs down on Billy Madison, to which I reply, if peeing your pants is cool, you can call me Miles Davis.
I wish I never brought up that movies existed. That was
Oh,
my
yeah,
mistake.
I would have
That was
definitely
my
forgot.
mistake.
Otherwise, I would have forgot that movies exist. You idiot.
There was no avoiding this.
All right, so we got some mulligans over here from Cedar's side of things. Still just kind of doing pregame rituals, making sure everything's good to go. Sorry about the delay.
I like calling them rituals.
What else would you call a pile shuffle?
Yeah, pile shuffle is certainly
Because it's certainly not shuffling.
Its meaning is lost to time.
Yeah.
We just do it because the person that taught us the game did it.
Yeah, and he did it to effectively, what was it called, mana weave? Like it was just the person who taught us to play Magic was a mana weaver.
What you need to understand is the person who taught me to play this game cheated in many subtle ways.
Oh man. I noticed you didn't name drop anybody.
You wouldn't know him.
That's fair.
You wouldn't know. I ran into him at a game store a couple years ago.
Was he the type of guy who told you that regenerate was like you could bring it back from the graveyard?
Yeah.
Yeah, my guy did that.
Also, if you destroyed the source of a thing, the ability was countered.
Yeah,
that was the big thing we had wrong.
Yeah. What about cumulative upkeep? Did you ever have to deal with that?
No.
Because I only paid the one. If it was like one cumulative upkeep one, you can bet your bottom dollar I was only paying one every turn.
Nice.
I don't know what the word cumulative means. I'm 10.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah, it's weird that there's an upkeep cost and then there's also a really dumb-sounding one that's the exact same mechanic.
Yeah. Plus, I had one Uktabi Freet in my collection. I did not own any other creatures any other cards with cumulative upkeep.
I played a lot of
upkeep.
Goblin Surgeon. So 1 mana 0/2, and you can sack a goblin to regenerate a goblin.
That sounds rancid.
I played as if you could regenerate sacrificing because I was taught by someone who did not understand the rules of the game.
Yeah,
all right,
same.
let's watch some real Magic.
Yay!
Robert Seder has finally kept a hand on the play with an island.
I'm sorry, it was like 6 minutes. It was 7 minutes.
Looks like a
I
sixer.
don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Don't air your dirty laundry. We're watching Modern now. Dale Ayers.
Are we talking about my undies?
Basic Forest. Do we have Tribe Scout? We do. Field of Ruin is land number 2 for Seder. He'll pass back. Maybe holding up a mana leak.
Yeah, not positive. Thought I saw a Stronghold Mana Leak hanging out in his hand. Love that art.
I'm a big fan of Stronghold Mana Leak.
Same. Although, if I'm not mistaken, is the one from... Was there any like more recent printing that used the same art from
8th
the
edition.
Stronghold? Okay.
And
That's
a
what I
9th
thought.
edition.
It was white. They were white bordered though, right?
Correct.
And then we had black borders again in like M10 or something. Because I know that I got to play Mana Leak in my Delver deck, and oh boy, that was a fun standard format. Are you kidding me? Delver into Mana Leak was legal in standard?
It was pretty berserk. Snapcaster Mage, a big heavy lifter as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So Tribe Scout got some extra mana online. You see there was a bounce land and a Bajuka Bog. The Tribe Scout got gusted. And now Field of Rune's going to take care of the bounce land, sending back Ayers Manor, as if he never activated the Tribe Scout. All right, on our other match, the 1 seed, Fear, Jessup, and Allen, they do win their match against Bedell, Feingerch, and Chen, and they are on to the finals.
Almost as if someone predicted it.
It is almost as if somebody predicted it.
Yeah.
And
All right, Daryl, can you please stop shuffling, my dude?
These are our 3 players that are at the top of the leaderboard. You're going to see some movement there for Harlan Fear, Dan Jessup, and Zach Allen.
We're very early in the season, so the movement on the leaderboards is going to be fast and furious. And then next year it's going to be too fast, too furious. I don't even know what after that.
Fast 10.
Is that the new one? It's called Fast 10?
It's called Your Seatbelt. We see
Fast in your
Azusa,
nice.
Lost But Seeking for Dale Ayers, Simic Growth Chamber. Going to be deployed after that. Picks up Forest. Another Simic Growth Chamber.
Now, a lot of amount of development here from Ayers, but
Picks up the Bog.
the Field of Ruin can undo a little bit of that. Have to wait and see if Seder has any the other form of interacting with these lands.
Yeah, the field's well and good, but he also kind of needs to get the Azusa off the table. We know there's lands in Ayers' hand.
Right, like he just returned 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed. And yeah, there's definitely a Stronghold Mana Leak in Seder's hand. Vendilion Click here for Seder. Do not know. This guy does bump his graveyard off the table sometimes. Take a look at Ayers' hand. Primeval Titan, Once Upon a Time, a Dryad of the Elysian Grove, and the Forest and Bajuka Bog we know about. Goodbye, Primeval Titan. That makes sense.
Yeah, but the shields are down. We're going to get to draw a card here. So Daryl does get to draw a card. And he gets to untap. And I believe he drew another Primeval Titan. Holy moly.
Thoughtseize Bug.
Yeah. I think he drew the second draw was a Dryad of the Elysian Grove, so could just do some real monstrous stuff this turn.
Primeval Titan. What do you think about that one?
I think it's great. He's going to go get Handwar Battlements and a bounce land. He still has 2 lands to play for turn, I believe. If one of them taps for red, he can play that and give haste maybe to the Primeval Titan so it can attack this turn. But he may have other plans, or I may be miscalculating slightly. After all.
Field of the Dead, push the front of the deck.
Yeah, but he currently has 2 Simic Growth Chambers, a Force and a Snow Force. He has 3 uniques. The Titan gives 5 uniques. And then he still has, I believe, 2 land drops to go. Still has 2 land drops to go, if I'm not mistaken.
Game's looking pretty good for Daryl Ayers.
Oh, for sure. He's in the driver's seat.
Making up for a deficit, though, as Liam Carlton did 2-0 Russell Lee in the Pioneer seat.
Okay, so the Bant Spirits deck did take the match. Now it's going to be I'm not saying this game's over. A long way to go if Seder's able to handle what's in play right now. But Fortanely's match will be the decider, I think.
2 Field of the Deads for Ayers. Like you mentioned, they're a ways off of making zombies, but there sure will be a lot of them when Ayers gets there.
There's no time limit. We can just hold on for a while.
See, Azusa attacks, and Seder's actually going to trade the click away with the Azusa. And we'll go back Seder's way.
I kind of like that. The vanilla click feels like the only way to really put a significant amount of pressure on him. And he's gotten most of his land drops already. I believe there's a Dryad of Elysian Grove hanging out in hand already, so like the extra land drops aren't that relevant. Obviously, if you have Azusa and a Dryad, you get 3 extra land drops a turn. So if you have the Valakut bounce land thing, you get to do 12-ish damage. Yeah, it's all redundant. Mostly redundant, I guess. I don't know. What do you even target here with the Field of Ruin? One of the Fields of the Dead?
That, and then Path to Exile on the Titan. But Ayers going to have a lot of mana to work with here.
Yeah, this is you watch professional wrestling, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I've got some bad news. You know who's the bad news guy? What's his name?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hold on, Cedric's over here. Cedric, what's the bad news wrestler's name? I've got some bad. He's British, right?
Are you talking about Pac?
I don't know. You're the wrestler guy.
Well, I have no idea if you're making reference from this decade.
Yes.
3 decades ago.
Recently.
2 decades
I've
ago.
got some bad news.
Last decade.
This decade.
I believe that's
Actually, this decade is only what, month old?
yeah, probably like this decade's the least likely.
Okay.
Actually.
Last decade then.
All right.
All right, Daryl here looks like he's about to play that Dryad, I believe.
Dryad ain't bad.
And the shields are down. Force negation only counters non-creatures.
Dryad plus Primeval Titan. I smell some sulfur.
Russell just got up, dude.
Yeah. No, you got it. You got it, bud.
Yeah. This feels like a double Valakut get.
He passed the second Valakut looking over the deck.
Yeah.
Maybe like a bounce land. We'll see. Vesuva, that's an option.
Well, you can't copy the Valakut, and copying the Field of the Dead doesn't do much. Could maybe copy his opponent's island or plains. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, I think bounce
5.
land is more likely to be copied than that, right?
Bounce land doesn't give him unique land types for.
I don't think
Field of the Dead.
I don't think he's looking for
yeah,
zombies.
sure,
I think it's very easy for him to get zombies, right?
That's fair.
He's
And
considering something bigger than that.
Well, he's considering getting the bounce land so he gets to like replay lands a bunch, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But here he can just get 2 Valakuts, do 6 to face. He still has the ability to play 2 lands, I believe. Might only be able to play 1 land.
2 Valakuts it is. 4 lightning bolts upstairs. 2 Valakuts checking each other.
And Bajuka Bagya, Snapcaster Mage gets shut down, and with Seder only on 3 lands, needs probably something like Supreme Verdict here, so if he has it in hand, needs a white source. If he doesn't have it in hand, he's probably dead.
That Bog, that's also 6 more damage. You see Seder just wrote a 2 on the life pad. That's going to be it. Daryl Ayers, 2-0 over Robert Seder, and that means that our standard match is what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, really unfortunate sequence there for Seder. Game 1, I felt like he had it in the bag and just couldn't hold it together. Daryl kind of piecing together a win from the remnants of a pretty bad draw. And then Game 2 was all about Ayers just having all the pieces necessary, and then Seder kind of stumbling after the mulligan. He had a couple of good pieces of interaction with Ether Gust and Field of Ruin, but ultimately not even close to enough.
Checking in on the standard match now. This is what it's all coming down to. Cole Cunningham on the play with a tapped Hallowed Fountain. And we'll see how quickly the red deck can come out of the gates. Turn 1 Scorch Spitter. That's not bad.
No, it's excellent in this particular matchup, too, because there are very few, if any, blockers on Cole Cunningham's side of the thing. So that Scorch Spitter just keeps on chunking in. And if there's no glass casket or some such to chop it down, then it's going to represent a significant amount of damage. But Devout Decree, though, is the play. And a scry here from Cole Cunningham. Devout Decree, one of the better sideboard cards in his 75.
A clean answer to most of what's going on the other side of the table.
I love that it's a great answer to Anax.
Oh, yeah. Being able to exile instead of replacing with Satyrs, that is certainly powerful.
For sure. It's funny, I've seen that card be dealt with like 5 times this weekend, and it always gets exiled. Lava Coil, Glasket, Devout Decree.
And here's a nice one out of the sideboard on turn 2 for Fortanely.
Unchained Berserker, 2-mana 1/1. Protection from white. Gets +2/+0 as long as it's attacking. So not really great at playing defense, but against a white opponent, it can play a good amount of defense since it can just block any white creature. But more importantly, just bashes for 3 and doesn't get caught up at any of this white removal out of the blue-white control deck, except Shadow of the Sky.
There's a Phoenix of Ash to join it. Cunningham just been making land drops outside of that decree. Here's an attack for 5. Ether Gust, that can target the Berserker. Fortnite's got to decide, is that going to be good enough drawing next turn, or should that go to the bottom?
It's a good question. I mean, it can be countered, and but it does represent a decent clock, and it's relatively hard to deal with. Unfortunately for him, does not get over the 0/4 artifact wall that is created by the Birth of Meltus.
Phoenix got in for 2. Cunningham to 18, but has the Glasket for the Phoenix. Plays a Plains, leaving up a blue and white now.
Watching Glasgow do some serious work, but it's making me wonder, maybe these mono-red decks should be splashing black just for Ingress Rampage. There's a lot of cheap Planeswalkers, a lot of creatures in the early game that you want to cack, and then obviously Glass Casket being an artifact is a huge downside against that card. You also get access to 2-mana Reveler, whose name escapes me.
Oh, yeah. The Spectacle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick's Mighty Reveler, that's the one. Director Rob saving the day as always. Thanks, man. Now we're playing a 3-headed giant as Daryl Ayers. Dude, just leave him alone. It's Bobby. Just let Bobby do it.
So he drew the Unchained Berserker. Now he's going to start with Fervent Champion on his turn. Attack with that one. Cunningham to 17. Just takes it. Looks like Anax or Berserker is the choice here. And Fortanely lands on Anax, hardened in the forge.
It's significantly better against a Shadow of the Sky because you get quite a few Seders to replace these creatures. And this is kind of the spot where you would expect a card like that to come down. A couple of white spot removal spells have been used already, so a sweeper effect makes sense.
Here is the Birth of Meltus. He's going to go find a Plains now. Chapter 2 does make that colorless 0/4 wall, like you said. That one can really blunt the Berserker.
Yep. I have a feeling that this land is going to follow up with a Teferi Time Raveler and bounce Anax. That's going to really stifle the pressure that Fortanely is putting on. Cole here basically just trying to stem the bleeding long enough to find Dream Trawler. Dream Trawler is their big trump card in the matchup. It's really hard to kill. Gains a bunch of life, draws a bunch of cards. It's just exceptional in this style of matchup.
It's good everywhere and great here.
He's actually pretty low on cards just because he's had to use so many one-for-one trades early. The Birth of Meltus is going to give him a little bit of breathing room, but this turn he doesn't really have a whole lot as far as protection is concerned.
It just played that Plains and pass, and we'll see what Fortanely has to capitalize. Currently, the Anax has 3 power. There's a lot of incentive to get your additional pips on before you attack.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's what they're discussing, just the dynamic between the extra pips and extra damage from Anax versus exposing yourself to a more brutal Shattered Skies. Looks like 3 mana here for Heliod's Intervention.
Getting rid of that Anax. That is an enchantment creature. That works. It's going to make a Seder. This is in response to a 10th Street Dodger, so the Anax is only a 3-power creature, not a 4.
Yeah, so you only get the 1 Seder instead of 2. Now, the Heliod's Intervention does kind of function just like a 3-mana disenchant in that spot, but its versatility in some matchups is just so strong.
Well, here's a Phoenix of Ash. The 3 Knuckleheads come across for 4, Cunningham to 13.
Classic Raging Goblin strategy. 10th Street Dodger here coming along with the Phoenix of Ash, and this is a lot of pressure here. Let's see if Cunningham can come up with a way to deal with all these threats. Definitely needs a sweeper here. Does he have the Shadow of the Skies? Hey man, would you cast the Shadow Skies right now?
I would strongly consider it.
I think so. I think I would cast it.
Even to destroy his own wall.
All right, it's not that though. It's a Narset.
Narset a little bit worse. A lot bit worse.
A lot of bit worse.
Narset goes to 3. Cunningham looking for some help.
Yeah, a Shatter of the Skies here for next turn might be a little too slow simply because the Phoenix of Ash threatens a lot of damage this turn and next turn. So maybe he's looking for something like a second Glasket to take care of that. But Elspeth Conquers Death might be a little too slow. He's not casting it this turn.
No, he is not. Does have something to do with 2 mana, though.
Another
The Birth of Meltis.
Yep. So he does get land number 6, which means if he draws Dream Trawler, he can cast it. That's important. He has the 0-4 to block next turn, so he can stifle a bit of damage. If he survives the attack, he's going to gain 2 life from Chapter 3 of the first one, and be able to make another 0-4 wall for the second one. So, as long as he's able to survive next turn, and maybe the turn after that, could make a comeback here. We're going to have to see if Fortanely can put up some more pressure, deal some more damage, maybe find Embercleave. Another haste creature.
Cunningham finds and plays the Plains, and we'll go back to Fortanely. Untapping with 4 mana and 4 creatures. Draw look to be a mountain.
Yeah, but the shields are down. No cards in hand other than the Elspeth Conquers Death.
Mountain's also okay. You can pump the Phoenix of Ash with a lot of mana.
Yep. For 3 mana, you can pump it for a +2. And then, so once he hits a 6 land drop, he can also start double pumping it and swinging it for 6. If it ever goes to the graveyard, it can escape and come back as a 3/3, and then the damage output is scales pretty nicely there. You can also pump and play the Berserker.
So there's land 5, there's Berserker, there's Pump, and we'll see how the attacks go.
I think ground creatures are going to go face. Phoenix of Ash is going to kill the Narset to make sure it's harder to find the... Oh, reverse that. Excuse me. 4 to the face. All 3 of the ground pounders go at the Narset.
Sure.
One of the walls blocks to put Narset on 1, I guess.
Yeah, Narset on 1 doesn't find any cards, so that's the same as killing it when you're mono red. That 4 damage is going to knock Cunningham to 9.
And he just lets it go. He doesn't even try to keep it at 1 because it's actually better for him in the graveyard right now, thanks to the Chapter 3 of Elspeth Conquers Death. If he's able to get there, then that's exactly the type of card that he wants.
All right, so here comes a second wall and 2 life. Cunningham goes to 11. Untapping now with 6 mana. We know about Elspeth Conquers Death. A fine play for the turn. The walls do a reasonable job of holding the ground. Still taking some damage if all he does is exile the Phoenix, though. So here is Elspeth Conquers Death.
Yep, that takes care of the Phoenix permanently, and that is the flyer that was getting over these walls, dealing a lot of damage from the pump effect. Exiling is a huge deal here.
All right, Fortanely's turn.
Much like Anax rewards you for your opponent using traditional spot removal that kills. Just seeing a lot of things exile here, and them being quite good as a result.
Draw and play Tin Street Dodger. Fortanely attacks with 5 creatures. Block on the 3/1, block on A1/1, take 3, Cunningham to 8.
Yep. Pretty simple. Birth of Meltis going to trigger as well, sending him back up to 10. And he's effectively survived the onslaught. So now he has a couple of turns of breathing room, thanks to the 2 walls. Next turn he's going to be able to get back Narset and maybe find Shatter of the Sky.
2 more life off of Chapter 3 of the Birth of Meltis. Cunningham to 10. Elspeth Conquers Death in Chapter 2. Now has 2 cards in hand. We haven't got to look at those.
All right. Finds a second Narset. Going to probably go digging here.
Temple of Enlightenment before activating Narset. Puts a card on the bottom. Now Narset takes a look.
Yeah. Maybe would have liked to Temple after the Narset. It's very minor. But if you want to keep the card on top, I guess you can just dig for it immediately. But what if it's a Dream Trawler? Right. What are you going to do, not cast the Narset?
Exactly, yeah. If it's a creature specifically that he wants, that's where that scry kind of bites you.
If you do that, maybe just don't play the Narset this turn. Or play the Temple before you play the Narset, you know?
Teferi Time Raveler picked up. He has a mana to cast that, and he will. Planeswalker's kind of going back and forth with the walls there. Teferi is going to bounce that Seder token, get rid of that. Back to Fortanely. And the window for Fortanely to win this game might be closing.
Yeah. This has been a tight game so far, but the blue-white deck really just showcasing exactly what it can do as far as damage prevention is concerned, you know. Fortanely here, talking over the play potential with his teammate. Going to just play another Fervent Champion and slam in.
Everyone's going upstairs. 1 of the 2s and the 3 blocked, so 4 coming across.
Yep, 4 damage going to send him down to 6. But Elspeth Conqueror's Death going to be able to get back another Planeswalker here, I guess. But kind of just replaces a Narset. It's not really that big of a deal.
Right, it kind of really matters what Cunningham does this turn and next turn.
Right.
All right, so you get a 6 loyalty Narset now.
Yep, thanks to the extra loyalty counter from Chapter 3. So now it can activate an additional time over the course of the next few turns if he's able to survive long enough or the Narset's able to survive long enough.
Narset's going to 4.
Really needs a Shatter the Sky here to clean things up. And he can even play it instant speed, and he found it, finally. It only took 30 cards of digging. Narsets and Scries and everything.
And also gets to instant speed it as Teferi goes to 2.
Yeah, instant speed here also prevents creature from off the top having haste, dealing some damage. So quite a nice little pickup from Cunningham, and I think this game is pretty much over.
Fortanely draws.
See if he can find a way out, though. Game's not quite over yet. Still going to take a little while for Cunningham to actually win the game. And with Cunningham at 6 life, I don't think Shock's in the deck anymore, but I could be wrong.
There's 1 experimental frenzy in the sideboard.
Oh, man.
Maybe could be a heavy hitter. As we see Shadow the Sky come down.
Yep, none of these creatures have 4 power either, so they're all going to die. No cards drawn. And the Narset would prevent cards drawn anyway. Nice little mini wombo combo. We saw that earlier with Narset versus Midnight Reaper in a very similar situation.
We see the draw was just Mountain. Fortanely plays it, and Cunningham's going back to work. Narset to 2.
He's in the driver's seat. I don't think he's worried about all that much. And now with Absorb, I would not be surprised if Bobby actually just packed him up in response to the Absorb. The game is effectively over now. You can't play things at instant speed. The Absorb counters the next thing and sends him to 9. It's virtually impossible to win from here, but we'll wait and see what they do.
10th Street Dodger drawn and cast. And it's an untimed round in a team event. So
for sure.
Fortanelli's probably going to make him kill him.
Look, tight concession. That's all I want.
And the Dodger even gets tagged by Absorb.
Yep, we're going to see activation of Castle Vantress as well. Get some Scry going. Wouldn't be surprised if he upkeeps Scry as well, you know. Maybe wants the mana, though, in case he finds something sweet off the Narset, though.
Cashes in that last activation on the Narset. Takes a look at 4 more cards. Team discussing what the selection should be. Devout Decree.
Yep, and that can also be played at instant speed thanks to its fairy tick up. So just very, very, very favored here, very far ahead. Has all the answers, but this is kind of the nature of the control deck, right? Like you don't actually win the game for a while, but you have it effectively won for just a long time.
Robber the Rich, that's going to be Devout Decreed. Cunningham's going to scry. Matter of time before Dream Trawler shows up.
Yeah, with Castle Vantress, it shouldn't take too long either to find it. You have to assume all of them are in the deck after sideboard for sure.
There's another scry with the castle, like you said. Here's a draw.
Cole here can keep taking up to Teferi to make sure that it never dies, and also make sure you can always cast Shatter the Sky or Devout Decree at instant speed. If you have Dream Trawler here, you should just cast it. Close this game out quickly.
Teferi goes to 5. Well, there's really absolutely no reason for Cunningham to rush, right? What's he going to lose to?
I don't know.
Castle Embreth? Probably not.
Well, there's also something to be said about fatigue. If you have the Dream Trawler and you just cast it, there's a good chance Bobby just concedes. And that saves you a lot of mental energy. Because here, he's expending a ton of mental energy just closing the game.
I think that it was just this draw. 6 mana to have Trawler plus 3 mana up.
Oh, sure. And that's fair. Just like, do I cast Trawler or wait one turn where I draw land? And he chose wait one turn, draw land. That's fine. Now I need to find some way to deal with this Anax. So you can use the minus ability on the Teferi, just bounce it for a turn. Could maybe do something like Elspeth Conquers Death. But in the meanwhile, just gaining a bunch of life. Attacking, dealing some damage.
Dream Trawler connects. Cunningham draws that extra card. Fortanely to 15, Cunningham to 14.
Yeah, very Baneslayer Angel-esque as Dream Trawler, but arguably better.
Prognostic Angel.
Prognostislayer Angel. It's one of the first Sphinxes in a long time I can remember really thinking, like, man, that card's great. Though I was pleasantly surprised by the cycling one. Curator Sphinx, I think that's what it's called. The one that was
Curator of Mysteries.
Curator of Mysteries, that's the one. I like that one quite a bit. I like it more than Sphinx's Foresight, but Sphinx's Foresight has seen quite a bit of play in the Jeskai Fires decks and Standard as well. What's this? A second Dream Trawler. Okay. What's this? Bouncer Creature. Okay.
Not bad.
Not too shabby.
Temple of Enlightenment, discard to the bottom. And this is Fortanelli's possible last draw step. And there it is. Going to game number 3, a deciding game 3 in the standard seat here for the semifinals.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal to watch. I felt like Fortanelli was pretty close to getting the job done, but really needed something to go his way. Cole Cunningham had quite a few cheap removal spells early. Specifically had Ether Gust for the Berserker, which was nice. Slowed that damage down quite a bit. Finally found 2 copies of Birth of Meltus, which created some 0-4 walls that prevented a lot of damage and helping his land drops and gaining a few precious life points. But we were basically one Embercleave away from ending that game multiple times.
This is our 4th Open here in 2020, in Season 1 of our 2020 year on the SCG Tour. We've already been to Columbus, Knoxville, Richmond. Now we're in Philadelphia. Later in the month, February 22nd and 23rd, we'll be in Indianapolis. That's going to be a Pioneer Open.
I'm going to that one. If you want to come see me, come say hey.
I'm going to be covering it. You can come say hey to me.
With Emma. It's going to be so good.
I'm going to have a good time. It's going to be fun.
I'm going to have a good time.
You should win. It'd be nice.
I'm gonna.
That is later in February. March 7th, we have the regional championships. Those are all across the U.S. Those are modern. March 14th, 15th, the weekend after, it's going to be a Pioneer Open, another one in Baltimore. And then the week after, Syracuse for Modern, the 21st and the 22nd of March. April 4th and 5th, Pioneer in Atlanta. Later in the month, the 25th and the 26th, another Team Constructed Open in Worcester. Standard, Pioneer, and Modern, like you're seeing today. May 2nd and 3rd, a Modern Open in Cincy. May 23rd and 24th. 23rd and 24th, Team Pioneer Open in Louisville.
That sounds like gas.
Sign me up for that.
You want to sign up for that?
I don't know if I honestly don't know.
I don't know if I'm doing coverage either.
If
you're not doing coverage, you want to team up for that one?
Yeah, well, call
Johnny
me.
on the spot.
Have your people call my people.
Okay.
May 30th.
Hey, Ryan, you want to team up?
May 30th and 31st. That's going to be our last Open of Season 1. And back in Philadelphia for a Pioneer Open. And that's going to culminate in SCGCon Summer. It's going to be the Season 1 Invitational there in Roanoke, Virginia, June 11th to 14th.
Oh, that's going to be a good time. I'm going to that. Always go to SCGCon. One of my favorite weekends of the year. Well, sorry, 2 of my favorite weekends of the year. Get one in summer and one in winter, usually.
Yeah, I made it out to play/hang out at SCGCon Winter last year. That was the first Envy I had not worked in like 4 years.
Yeah,
So
same actually.
it's nice to
or
come
like
out.
2 years, but yeah. It was the first. So I top forward one invitational. The next invitational I bombed. I did pretty bad, and then I did not play another invitational for about 2 years.
So I'm hoping to make it out to hang out. It's a fun time.
Yeah. I was very confident in my ability to win that tournament. It was one of those moments where you just, your self-confidence gets shattered. I was a broken man. Down on my luck. But it was good hangs. Good hangs. That's what matters more.
I don't know. There's like multiple ways to frame that, right? You say yourself, maybe it was your hubris was lifted from you.
Perhaps you should leave me alone.
I say this because I care about you.
I know.
I would lie to you if I didn't care what you thought. I'd say, oh, man, that sucks.
Is that what everybody's been doing to me my whole life?
Yeah, like when you tell a bad beat story, if somebody just listens to you, they don't care about you.
Yeah, they're not your friend.
If they tell you to shut up, it's because of your friend. Like,
Yeah.
listen, you're being really annoying. You shouldn't be like this if you want to get ahead in life.
Dude, Ross Merriam and I, best friends. Where is he? I just want to tell him to shut up right now.
I'm a firm believer in what I like to call complaint equity.
Ross has lost a lot of his. Oh, he's coming. I see him.
Oh, yeah, you summoned him. He's on his way.
He's probably watching on his phone. He's like, you rang?
Yeah.
Yeah, shut up, dude.
Hey, Todd, you wanted to tell me something?
Hey, Ross, just want to say, shut up, dude.
He's
just like, what?
Shrugging his shoulder.
What?
I don't deserve this.
Yeah, you don't.
The Ross Merriam story.
You don't deserve it today, that's for sure.
All right, players looking at their opening sevens for Game 3. Fortanely on the play. That's where you want to be as a mono-red aggro deck.
This two-headed giant stuff. Hate it. But that's one of the bigger draws for team tournaments is that you get to play with your friends. And if you have a tough decision, you got great minds. Or, in my case, whenever I team with friends from back home, I have better minds to tell me the better place to make.
In the finals of the Baltimore Open that I won with Liz Lynn and Jacob Hagen, I should say I lost the finals, but they both won. I had my opening hand for my Game 3, and it was bad. I was like leaning on a Mishra's Bauble, like it was bad. And I showed them both the hand. I said, listen, either you tells me to ship this, I will mulligan. Otherwise, I'm too lazy. I cannot do this myself. And they were like, I'm not going to tell you to do anything. I was like, I appreciate that. And then I lost the game.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Look, that doesn't mean it's a mulligan.
Oh, yeah. I'd keep it again, but I would have mulliganed if my friends asked me to.
Oh, sure. You're like, our tournament is on the line. This is important.
It's like, listen, I'm about to blow it. You can stop me if you want.
Yeah. All right, looks like we have a keep here from Fortanely, and he's going to keep 6, putting 1 on bottom. He's going to be on the play here for game number 3. I'm not supremely confident he has a mountain. I think he might have 2 Castle Embereths.
Oh, Castle Embereth, go.
That's
Looks
one of the
about
downsides.
right.
Yeah, one of the downsides of playing multiple copies of Castle Embereth is that if you have multiple in your hand, it's very bad if you don't have a mountain.
Tap land for Cunningham, though this is a good one, Temple of Enlightenment.
Yeah, but he does have, looks like Robber the Rich in hand, maybe even Experimental Frenzy. So if the game goes quite long, this could be a good late game for him. And Mountain right off the top, Robber the Rich coming down. This is going to bang in for 2 and start setting up maybe a couple of cool cards in the next few turns.
And takes the card that was scribed to the top.
Nice.
That's a might about decree. Cunningham to 18.
It's a classic Nelson moment. Got him.
Glass Casket.
No.
Glasket.
There you go.
Takes care of the Robber of the Rich.
Yep. Now, needs to dump his hand and then get that Experimental Frenzy on the table. Has the mana here to go Frenzy plus Scorch Spitter, I believe.
Looking at Steamkin 1-drop. So there's the second castle. Here's the Steamkin. There's Scorch Spitter. Steamkin to 1 counter.
It may not seem like much, but there's a lot of information leaking going on here. This is one of the things that I don't like about the constant checking back and forth with each player, right? Like in that particular spot, Fortanely was holding up 3 cards, right? Cast 2 of them, and Ayers pointed to the other one. They were talking, yada, yada. Maybe they're trying to keep it hidden as far as what card it is. But you can bet your bottom dollar Cole Cunningham knows it's not a land. But that was already, I guess, the case because of the Castle Embereth start.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's a tremendous consequence in anything that happened that turn.
Not in that particular instance, but generally speaking, a savvy player will be able to pick up that kind of thing pretty quickly and pretty easily.
Here's land number 4, Experimental Frenzy.
Top.
Gets
going on
ghosted.
top.
Yeah, let's park this right here.
Yeah.
Steam came up to a 3-3, an attack for 4, Cunningham to 14.
Now that does mean that Cunningham may get to untap here with Absorb Mana or some way to permanently deal with the Experimental Frenzy.
Possibly, but there's not a tremendous amount of pressure for Fortanely to attempt it in the face of open mana.
Oh, agree. That's what, like he's kind of like Stem the Bleeding, but if he interacts with the creatures during combat or before, or just holds up mana, like there's no reason for Fortanely to bite until the time is right.
That was actually an attack for 5. That was a Scorch Spitter, so
yes.
Cunningham's at 13. And we know Fortanely has a spell left over, so into open mana, just casting whatever spell that is, probably pretty reasonable.
Yep. I think Cunningham's trying to figure out if he should just bite the bullet and cast his Shatter the Sky or something, clean up these creatures before the Frenzy comes down, because if he sits on a counter spell, I think things are going to go badly for him. But if he goes ahead and sweeps, he's got to beat a Frenzy. And that's not easy to do. But it can be handled in a number of ways, including just bouncing it with Teferi Time Raveler maybe a time or two, and then countering it on the way back, maybe finding another Ether Gust. And without the Runaway Seamkin on the battlefield, that Experimental Frenzy is still very good, but it's not nearly as busted.
So Shadow the Sky takes care of the creatures. Fortanely goes ahead and casts the Frenzy. Takes a look at the top card. It's not a land. Back to Cunningham. It's very Time Raveler. Likely a bounce forthcoming.
That would be my guess.
Maybe not. Maybe so.
I think you just put the dice wrong. They're conferring on what to do here. A tick up isn't terrible because it does make it pretty hard to kill. Next turn you can maybe bounce it and then hold up a counter spell. But I think at that point maybe the Frenzy gets a little too much of an advantage. Here if it has to get recast, it's basically time walking Fortanely for the 3rd turn in a row.
So the Frenzy was bounced. We go to Fortanely. He's thinking about casting the non-Frenzy cards.
Yeah.
Which I believe is a pair of Fervent Champions.
Seems pretty good to me. It's going to need probably another Wrath effect to deal with them. Oh, sorry, Fervent Champion. I was thinking of the Berserker. Excuse me. That's Javier Dominguez.
2 going upstairs, 2 taken down to Teferi. Cunningham to 11.
All right. Do you think they would have to reprint Fervent Champion with Double Strike if Javier had won, if wins Worlds?
Or they just make it red 2/2.
Double Strike
to give a Knight +2/+0.
That'd be kind of cool. That would be a nice little nod.
That card's probably a little gassed.
Well, this one's a little gas too, if you ask me.
Well, it's like really bad we only have 1 though.
That's true. But have you ever like had it with another Knight? It's pretty good.
Not in the way where I really cared. I believe somebody has. I believe other people have. Teferi's going to bounce one of those Fervent Champions. Back to Fortanely. If he was able to draw a 5th land, then the turn's kind of easy. Redeploy Champion, cast Frenzy on top of that.
Yeah.
Mana looks a little tight, though.
I mean, it depends on if he can play the other card in hand or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just plays 2 spells this turn that are not the Frenzy, similar to last turn, just keeps pressing that advantage, forcing his opponent to deal with what he's casting from hand right now, and then finally sticking the Experimental Frenzy when all the resources are gone.
So Robber of the Rich is going to be the play, as well as redeploying the Champion. It's going to be 1 attack at Teferi, and 2 at Cunningham. Exiles a Hallowed Fountain with the Robber.
Yeah, and killing the Teferi is simply just a nod to the instant speed. Shatter the Skies. Shatter the Sky, excuse me.
Right. You want to make Cunningham commit to Shatter or Absorb.
Yeah, here comes the Beast.
So from 7, here's Dream Trawler.
Freddy Krueger.
What can Fortanely do about that?
New nightmare, dude. I don't know, but he can't deal 7 damage this turn.
It's a tough one to solve.
There's a chance that the Experimental Frenzy can just overwhelm the Dream Trawler, but it's going to be kind of tough.
Without a Steamkin with only 4 lands,
Right.
it's not the best setup for a Frenzy.
No, it's pretty tough. Pretty tough.
I mean, it's totally fine in a normal game, but now that the Dream Trawler is online.
Yeah, Frenzy is good when the board is at parity or if you're ahead. It's okay when you're behind, but not when you're like pretty far behind, because it costs so much mana as the initial investment. Here, this will be the 4th time that Fortanely's cast it, and he's gotten 0 cards out of it yet.
So he plays land number 5, then plays Experimental Frenzy. Taking a look for some 1-mana spell on top of the deck.
Attacking here gets in 1 damage, and I don't think that that's good enough. He might have actually found a shock, and here an attack with a shock lets him shock whatever gets blocked.
So here is an attack with the creatures, another land exiled with the robber.
Infuriate might also be a good one too.
Well, yeah, a little +3/+2 and any 2-power creature.
Yeah, he has the block though. This is, well, I guess it's not guaranteed. This is only 6 coming across, but going to 1 is pretty dangerous. I think you just block Robber of the Rich, cross your fingers, hope that the top card's not a shock to prevent you from gaining life, but you still get to gain life next time. Cross your fingers, really, that's not an Infuriate, because Infuriate basically kills you.
It would be infuriating. Ooh, Fortanely is looking at it again. We have the block on the robber.
Might have just been a bluff. Deal 1 damage. Trade my 1 creature for 1 damage. And in a spot where you have Experimental Frenzy, that's not the worst trade in the world.
Champions Connect. That's 4. Trawler goes back up. Cunningham to 6.
Light up the stage. That makes a lot more sense, too.
All right. Looks like Anax and Mountain. Those are going to hang out through the next turn.
Yep. He's already played a land, so can't play one off the top. I would guess that the land in exile right now from the live the stage is never played.
Yeah. Pretty unlikely. All right. Cunningham's turn now. Gets to make an attack with the Trawler.
Yeah, and that's going to put him to 11. And then a second Dream Trawler in hand, I believe, is going to come down. And I don't want to say that's going to do it, but that's a lot to deal with. That's a lot of life gain, blocking, coming and going, as they say.
Every time that Dream Trawler attacks, my brain tells me it loots. And then they draw the card and they keep the card. And I'm like, holy crap, that card is good. It'd still be pretty good if it looted.
I agree. I think that you could cut off 2 abilities of that card and it'd still be playable.
Fortanely to 15, Cunningham to 11. Here's a Glasket on one of the champions.
Wouldn't be as much of a powerhouse, but it'd still be okay.
Right.
I think Lifelink is probably one of the more important parts of the card. But if it was just, again, Lifelink Prognostic Sphinx, I think it'd still be great.
Fortanely draws, takes a look at the top card with the Frenzy. It's going to play Mountain.
Yep. And they're just turning the Frenzy upside down to annotate that they have played a land for the turn, so as to not accidentally play an additional land. Neat little trick if you're not playing on Magic Arena.
The Anax from the Light Ups cast. That's going to be absorbed. Cunningham to 14.
Perhaps that was the Azores card I saw in hand instead of a second Dream Trawler. 1 Dream Trawler might be enough to get the job done here. This Experimental Frenzy is not really doing the job, you know what I mean?
Fervent Champions going to knock Cunningham to 13, but Fortanely has no follow-up, just 3 wasted mana here. Can't really afford that against a Dream Trawler.
And this is, you're really starting to see here the late game potential of this Azores control deck versus the late game potential of the Mono Red Aggro deck. Even in the face of Experimental Frenzy, this Dream Trawler is just trucking. Gaining 5+ life a turn, draw an extra card every attack step. It even played defense the turn you cast it, and it's virtually impossible to kill. Can't use something like Fry to take it down.
I was just going to say, I like how just nothing is killed by Fry.
Yeah, I love Sideboard cards that do nothing. I had like a very long rant about Fry on my stream a few weeks back, but that card is an embarrassment. Specifically because of everything else.
If you're going to print it, just make it work.
Yeah,
you know?
Just make it good. Or not.
You can just not print it.
Like the white one's just like, exile the thing. It's gone forever. Fry's like, well, it does 5. That's like kind of a lot, right?
5 is a big number.
And then they're like, well, every Planeswalker is just going to have 6. So, you know, Shut up already.
They're like looking at Dream Trawler like, I'm concerned that this might
die to fry. This sideboard card.
I don't like the idea of this card losing to a red deck.
Yeah.
How about a second Dream Trawler? How do we feel about that one, Todd?
Well, I was right. That's all I'm going to say. I think the game, unless Bobby plays a Steamkin off the top of his deck right now and has one of the most disgusting turns I've ever seen, this is over. We're going to see Seder, Carlton, Cunningham in the finals.
Fervent Champion attacks. Love it. Fortanely is not going to just quit.
Just block, man. Like, who cares?
Yeah, what are you,
you know?
you have to
Literally,
do?
who cares? Block.
Win with your other Dream Trawler?
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to manage that one.
You're going to infuriate? Great. All right. My guy's dead. Congratulations.
Also, like, that play is totally uninformed. It would have to be double Infuriate off the top with the Frenzy.
Exactly.
Infuriate Castle Embreth, I guess, but...
Yeah, no, that's reasonable. It does have first strike, too. Yeah.
That's a lot of mana. Like, what else is going to happen?
Yep.
I think you still just win with your other Trawler in 2 turns. There's the block. Tap a 5. It's the cleave. Cleave coming off the top.
Okay, so that's 4 damage.
Azure Infuriate to follow. Cleave attaches to champion. And Fortanely's got to concede.
Dream Trawler and Azor's control from Cole Cunningham taking that match down, and you're really starting to see why Azor